So hello, everybody.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hey, Jeff.
Honor, privilege to have such an amazing, legendary band, Rare Earth. I just wanted to thank you so much for coming out to the Jeff Antonio show, and I'm just so excited to talk to you guys.
Thank you.
We're glad to be here for sure. And yeah, it's
Thank you
always
for having us, Jeff. We really appreciate it. We're honored to be on your podcast.
Oh, I so much appreciate it. I so much appreciate it. I've often, as a musician myself, I've often said, okay, because we know, I mean, and I'm a little younger, but the best music of all time was 60s, 70s. Let's just keep it a buck, okay? The best music ever. And if I could travel back into time, who would I, and I could jam with anybody, who would it be? Well, it's a short list, but that list would be Chicago, okay, Santana, and Rare Earth. And
Oh, thank you. Woo.
Thank
yeah.
you.
no, but it's like you guys got it going on, and really, it's just like I love all the elements of it. I love it's got a little bit of this rock and roll. It's got this soul thing. It's got this funk thing. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, how would you describe Rare Earth? How would you describe the music?
Who's in?
Yeah, go ahead, somebody.
Go ahead. Okay.
I think you're going to have to ask us who you want to speak to, Jeff. But in my opinion, the music of all the people. I've never seen another band that just can jump into any circumstance and just love the people. So, well, there's several, but Rare Earth is one of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could see it. I could see you guys working any crowd, really, anytime. Because you got a little bit of just what's needed, really. And I love it. I love it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm such a big fan of Get Ready, Born to Wonder, Tobacco Road. Of course, I just want to celebrate. This is one of the most amazing, fun, funky songs of all time. And yeah, I just love everything about it. And so I just wanted to get a little bit into like the history of the band, how you guys came together, when you came into the band, into the mix, and your experiences so far. And anyone can start, just take turns.
Well, I guess I'll start with my husband, Gil Bridges. He was the one member that was on every recording in Rare Earth, even when they were the Sunlighters back in the 50s. And they're just an amazing group. They just traveled on up the line there, and these guys are just fabulous. They're picking up, and Gil would be proud of them.
Well, I would just say too, to go with that, Susie, that back in those days, because I was playing in another band that was playing when the Sunliners were out at that time, and then bands were playing 5-6 nights a week.
Absolutely.
I mean, we were playing clubs. There were no disc jockeys, no karaoke. It was live entertainment. And so bands got to play like the Sunliners played, and they got real tight.
Yes, they did.
All those nights. And we were the band was in a great position. If somebody came in to check them out, which is what Motown did, they just said, well, these guys, look at this crowd and look what they got going on here. So that was part of the element that the band was in at that time.
Man, if I could be a fly on the wall, I mean, I'm just imagining, because like you said, and I've heard similar stories with the band Chicago, it was live entertainment. There was no DJ, or not in the way
Today,
no,
right?
There wasn't.
And so was it like 3, 4, 5 sets a night, 4 or 5 nights a week?
Yeah, we played. Sure, we played a long time. And also too, back in those days, some of the places, hey, we were union musicians, because the union was strong back then, and some of the better clubs, you had to be in the union. So, that was a part of it. And just the fact, but I mean, I was just coming out of high school and and all that stuff, and still in touch with the bands and the clubs. And it was just a great time, just to be alive and around that music. And the radios in your car were just blaring. AM, you didn't even have FM yet.
Right.
AM radio.
Right? AM radio.
Right. I mean, it was coming out of that AM radio, boy, just like a freight train.
And
Sounds like so much fun.
transistors as well.
Oh yeah. That's
Transistor
cool.
radios, the little ones. Yeah.
So, I mean, was it like just, I mean, I imagine like several songs, per night, right? And would you like mix in originals and covers all together? Like, how's that work at that time?
Yeah, it was all of that. I mean, and a lot of guys changed off singing and playing different, parts and singing harmonies and, I mean, just whatever the people kind of, the crowd needed, the band was delivering what was going on, and we were right in Detroit where all that Motown was going down. We used to, when I was in my group along with them, when they were in their group back in those days, girls were line dancing, guys were line dancing to the jukebox. They were all lined up and just having a good time.
Man, that sounds
Speaking
like
of,
fun.
that's a Rare Earth song. We're gonna have a good time. One of my favorites.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So, I mean, was it playing in the clubs that Rare Earth was discovered by Motown? How did that happen?
Yes, absolutely. Well, that wasn't exactly how it happened. How it came to be, Gil, their manager, who was Ron Strasner, his friend owned a beauty shop, and he used to cut Barry Gordy's, what they thought was his wife, but it was his girlfriend. He used to cut her hair, and so that's how that came to be. And they got an interview, and Rare Earth really didn't want to sign with Motown at the time because they didn't know what they were going to do with them, because they were all black groups, and they just didn't know what they were going to do with them. But then they offered the guys a new label for the white groups, and they said they were going to pull in the British invasion, and they named the whole label. They asked the guys, they go, would you do that if, we just do that? And he goes, yeah, why don't you just name it Rare Earth? And they did. They agreed, yeah.
Wow.
So the
Wow.
whole label for the white division of Motown is called Rare Earth.
And that's so interesting.
Yeah, very cool. They were trying to break into the black folks were trying to break into the white market, and these guys were traveling the opposite path, breaking into the black market because that was their roots. We grew up in Motown, that was their roots. And so in all the clubs, like Wayne was saying, they played all the Motown hits, and that's how these covers came to be. They played these songs forever and ever, even before they became Rare Earth. They were, like I said, the Sunliners. And it was just before they signed with Motown that they changed their name to Rare Earth.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
So Rare Earth was probably already playing Get Ready, was already part of
the repertoire.
Gosh, yes,
Learning about the
absolutely.
clubs, right?
Yeah.
Yep, they were.
And I imagine maybe the executives or Barry Gordy or somebody at Motown's like, okay, what you got? Let me see what you got. Okay. Ooh, listen to them do Get Ready. Is that what happened?
I've heard often that Get Ready is everyone's favorite. And the Temptations, they just knocked out one hit right after another. They were phenomenal. And these guys, when Rare Earth came in and did their version of it, it was just completely different. And everybody seems to like the Rare Earth version better, me included, but I truly do love the Temptations. But yeah, they were playing all those good old hits and of the Motown days, because again, that was their roots.
And they probably hit the road and tour with other Motown artists?
Yes, they did.
the bat.
Yes, they did. Yep, they sure did. And not only that, they were going on the road everywhere. These guys were slamming it. They were selling out at um, arenas. They were selling out stadiums everywhere. And then they played those big, ginormous concerts like the one in California, California Jam. There were
Yeah.
just millions of people. It looked like, well, thousands, but it was just as far as the eye could see, you know.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Hey, this is Jeff. I'd like to take a second and tell you about this channel. I really encourage you to hit the subscribe button. This really helps out the channel, helps it grow. And also, if you can like and put your comments for this video, that'd so much be appreciated. This really helps me to continue to book amazing artists that hopefully inspire you and continue to grow this channel. Thank you.
I'm just imagining what it must have been like to be a club band in Detroit, killing it at the clubs, and now all of a sudden you're on the road, and I mean that's a whole different set of audiences and touring and fans. I mean, I wonder what was it like that transition of going from Detroit, a great music town, but national, international, huge stages. I mean, what's that like taking that in?
Those guys were playing, even as the Sunliners, they played the Peppermint Lounge in New York. Yeah, as the Sunliners, they came in and substituted for Joey D, and they got in there and just ripped it up. And the guys asked them to come back and be the house band for a while. They had the go-go dancers and everything that they synchronized with. And yeah, that was when they were the Sunliners.
Wow. Wow. And then just multiple dates on the road. I mean, how many, just guessing, how many dates on the road do you think they did per year in those early years?
Oh my gosh, they were on the road all the time, just all the time. They were a bunch of young guys and they just were constantly playing, constantly. And then they played in the Detroit area. They were all over the place. They played the Club Cliche for a really, really long time, and that was a pretty big club. And then they went out to Ann Arbor where the college students were, and started playing out there at Grandmother's and Coral Gables and places like that. And they said they saw so many crazy stuff. Gil used to tell me all the time that they would see guys picking up other guys and mushing them through the crowds, and just there's some crazy stuff they saw.
Wow. Wow. And I think to most music artists who never get to experience that, I mean, I wonder what the highs and lows are of playing so many shows, hitting the road like that. I mean, was it grueling touring? Was it tough for them to get through all those shows?
You know, it was. It had to have been grueling for them, but they also enjoyed it. You know, they were used to it. They were young, really young guys, a bunch of young guys. In fact, when they started playing, a lot of them were not even old enough to go into those bars. And
That's the
yeah, yeah. And you know how they got the name the Sunliners was Gil's 1956 Sunliner that he drove, and that's how they got the name the Sunliners. And then I don't know if you know Wayne Mike Theodore.
I
Do
do
you know
know
Mike?
Mike. I
Yeah,
talked to him
yeah.
on the phone. Yeah.
He is the one that he was taking a chemistry class at the time, and they were shooting around what names they'd like for rare, and that rare earth came out of Mike Theodore because he was taking that chemistry class, and they're like, yeah, that's it,
Yeah,
rare
right.
earth. That's
Right.
where it came from.
Yeah. Well, Mike worked with Rare Earth, and he worked with them back when they were the Sunliners a bit too.
Who
Mike
did?
Theodore. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's just so cool, the beginnings and everything. And it's like you said, it's like the Motown sound is what they grew up with. And so they were playing, this is what they jammed to, right? I mean, that was just natural. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so cool that Motown took a chance on Rare Earth. I mean, I'm sure, anytime, especially the music industry, they trying something new, something different. Well, this band is amazing, but, they're not an African American band. That, Motown artists, they're, white band. How's this going to work? But I'm so happy that they did it because it just, it's amazing. It's really truly an amazing story, and you know, and that's one question I have is that there's so many good songs to choose from. How in the world do you guys choose a set list when you play? Like, you like narrow it down. Like, how does that work?
Well, we sit around and talk about it. We know we got to play the hits, and then everybody has input, and we rehearse a lot. And then when we do rehearse, we record our rehearsals. So we listen to everything we're kind of doing, and we just try to change different things and try different things from different eras and different albums, and you know, even some new stuff that's been out. It's a group effort to put that song list together.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's an art to putting together the set list, right? I mean, it's kind of a magic to it. Do you kind of formulate and say, okay, let's come out with the show with kind of a bang, and then get them energized, and then maybe in the middle take it down a little bit and then come back up? I mean, how do you do that?
I'll chime in here a little bit with this one. I'm Mike, by the way, if everybody.
Hey, Mike.
How you doing? So anyhow,
on
on the set list thing, we've done shows over enough years that we know when people plop down their money to see this band, they want to see what they heard back in the day. They're really not in for a lot of new stuff, and let's have different originals and all this. And I give you story after story of accounts that I've read in the newspapers that some famous artist, what would be an example? Like Eric Clapton, I read one place, came in and did a bunch, I think right here in our local venue, Pine Knob. He did a bunch of stuff that was new, that he was in the process of recording and releasing. And the crowd didn't like it too much. They wanted to hear everything that was the hits from back in the day. So we know we got a little bit of limitation. We got some breathing room, but when the band's got 9 hits and the show's only allowed to have 8 songs, you don't have a lot of squeaking room. But we managed to put some, not deep tracks in there, but songs that weren't right at the top. The band had 9 hits in its career, 9 songs in the top 100 Billboard. And it's kind of interesting too. We got up to number 3 with I Just Want to Celebrate. And that was on the Billboard. Number 1 in Canada, though. It was the number 1 hit in Canada. Yeah, their charting is not Billboard. I forget what it's called, but it's a different chart. But anyway, when you got those songs in your repertoire, they got to stay there in the show. You can't just go in and play a show with a whole bunch of, let's try this one and try that one, because the crowd's not going to like it. They want to hear what they know, and we deliver.
Yeah. They want their favorites.
They want the hits. Right.
But when it comes to filling in like the rare ones that you guys enjoy, like what are some of those tracks that you really enjoy that may not be as big as the 9 hits, but you're like, man, when we play this, it's like, this is it.
Well, we've gotten through with some things that weren't recorded in the early days, like Reach Out. Okay, was a big hit. Wasn't done by us originally, but we play that one in our show now regularly, and the crowd loves it. And Johnny Sue will tell you that's one of her favorites. She likes that song. And we also played Papa Was a Rolling Stone, which was not in our hit lineup back in the day, but we play that now. And we do a great rendition of that piece. It sticks pretty much to the original sound, but it's got the rare earth touch, and people just love hearing that played live. They love it. Nobody else does it. So, man,
that sounds like fun.
It is.
It is.
It's all fun. One of the things I wanted to chime in earlier about was you were talking about there must have been grueling times, and a lot of down issues too with the band. Wow, not in my recollection. It's all just been a big dream right from the get-go in the band. Just love it. Because I know what it's like to be on the other side of the coin. I mean, all the musicians that are playing in the bars, That's all they think about is getting in a national group. I know that. I was doing that for a long time. And, you know, when you get a chance to join a band like Rare Earth, you don't sit there and think about it. You go, right now, let's go.
Yeah.
So that's it.
No, that I'm so glad you brought that up because I wanted to touch on that too. It's it's so funny that you say that because there are, like you said, a lot of people playing in local bands and they would love to play with a national band. And to me, specifically a national band because of course there's the big gig being a musician for some pop artists, and of course that's a big, huge gig. But to me, most of the music artists I know, musicians I know, they would love to play with like a band, like a camaraderie, like a band, like a real band, like Rare Earth. And what's it like to land that gig, to land a gig with such an amazing band?
Well, it's great. And you put your best foot forward, you get done what they want done, and you just keep going. Move ahead, keep going, and don't look back.
Right. Absolutely.
Hey,
Yeah.
Mike, it was pretty grueling for you guys in Europe, eh?
Again, that was fun. I don't know. I don't know how grueling. The thing that's the worst about that, where you're touring out of the United States. We've been to, how many times has a band been to Europe? Probably 10 times probably. And
Yeah.
we've been to South America, stuff like that, where you're getting into time zone changes. That's what makes it a little bit grueling. But boy, there's a whole set of other stories that could be told. I'd like to tell this one. If we can put this in the mix real fast, just this one story.
For sure.
Yeah.
We had this. How long ago was this? God, this probably was the year 99 or 2000. And we were working out of an agency that was up in St. Paul, Minneapolis, and they had a manager. And the manager wanted to come along with us on the tour. He wanted to be the tour manager. Well, he was kind of he liked to make everybody think he was on top of everything, I guess. And so what happened is we had this overnight flight. We were supposed to play in a town called Bad Bleiberg. I'll never forget this. And this guy got us loaded in 2 vehicles, and we were driving on the Autobahn. We drove after we took the overnight flight and got through the airport and got our vehicles. We had been up, who knows, probably 20 hours by that time, but we had to drive right then because we were supposed to play that night in Bad Bleiberg. And this guy, Mr. Know-It-All, he's taking the lead. Now, back then, there wasn't any GPS really, okay? He's working off of a map. And he's in the lead van, and I'm in the back with the other guys. And Gil and him and whoever else, might have been Ray, they were all in that front vehicle. And so we're driving and driving and driving. And the next thing you know, that vehicle turns off this side road and starts going up the side of a mountain.
Oh,
And
no.
I was like, where the heck are they having us play tonight? How do they get a crowd back in this forest? Going up the mountain, and eventually we're going down this road. We probably went 10 miles, and they pulled into a little mom and pop gas station. And anyway, this older guy came out, and he was talking with our manager guy. And the next thing I know, I see that guy from the gas station. Now he's German, of course. I don't know. He probably spoke broken enough English that he could communicate well. And this guy's laughing. He's laughing like this. And we're sitting in the back van, and we're going like, I don't know what this is funny about, but I don't think this might be a good thing. Well, anyway, it turns out that in Germany, there's 4 Bad Bleibergs, and he picked the wrong one. We were 6 hours of driving time from where we were supposed to play, the wrong direction.
No.
6 hours in the wrong direction. This guy went to this Bad Bleiberg. He thought he knew everything. And here's this one little, it's probably a town, 50 people, and we almost got to it. We were like, from where he saw it on the map, we were within range, but it wasn't the right town. So that, you want to talk about stories, well, there's that one and many others.
That's a great story.
Yeah, I just love telling people that.
So what'd you do? When you find out you're 6 hours in the wrong
Oh,
direction?
we turned around and we went to the right one. We had it all straightened out where we were supposed to go because our manager guy, that guy at the gas station, he pointed right on the map. No, this is the one you're supposed to be at. And it was a little bit bigger town, which made sense. But we were heading up to a town of 25 or 50 people. We were going up to nothing. And it just said Bad Bleiberg. And he didn't even give it a second chance that there might be more than one town in Germany with that name. And there's many, many towns in Germany with Bad as a prefix. It means a place of water. You get water at a place, and a lot of towns had Bad before a second syllable.
Man.
So
that is too funny, but at least you made the gig, right?
yes, we made the gig, and it was great. We're
Ah,
just a little
that's
bit
good.
tired. Yeah.
And what's it like playing a place like Germany, where it's like, I know that they love, American music, but what's it like? I mean, them speaking a different language, they get into it just as much
Well,
as
the American crowd?
The band had our hits are worldwide. I mean, there's no border on our hits. They can be played in the Antarctic areas if you got a way of getting the reception. And Germany, of course, along with the rest of Europe, was a big fan of Rare Earth. We did a song named Ma that did fairly well in Europe, but didn't rate as high in the United States. But they just went nuts on that song. And we had it in our repertoire, and we played it in Europe, but we really never did it much in the States for that reason. And the people know who the band is. And when we went to South America, they knew who the band was. That we had people following us. This is the trip to Santiago, Chile. People following us on the streets knew that we were in the band. They were people walking alongside of us. And supposedly I wasn't, this was back way, but the band played in Caracas, Venezuela. And Gil said that when the plane landed, it was like the Beatles showed up. There were hundreds of people at the airport waiting just to see the band. Now, I wasn't in on that, but I could just imagine, and that's when, Rare Earth was right at the top of the game. They drew big audiences back in the day. I mean, they opened that California Jam that Susie talked about. Yeah. Rare Earth opened that. Don Imus, which people may remember that guy, he was the announcer. And they opened up, and there was 400,000 people there. That was an absolute immense festival, probably second only to Woodstock.
Right.
But more publicized and more prearranged than Woodstock. Woodstock was off the cuff. I don't know how they got that many people, because it wasn't nearly as organized, in my opinion, as California Jam was. California Jam was a spectacle. They flew the bands in on helicopter. I mean, it was all televised and all this stuff. Yeah, California Jam was something. Plus, it was in California, which just even adds.
Rare Earth was given the choice to open or close that concert, and they decided, well, if they open it, everybody's there waiting all this time, and so they did, and they got home in time to watch themselves on TV.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, that's so cool. Wow.
Yeah, they would fly them in on helicopters, and they had like a train tracks, and they would put the band on in the front and then turn it around and take the band off in the back. Yeah, it was really cool.
Man, that is so cool. So they had to fly in on a helicopter, fly out. But I like the choice that they chose to open it. That says a lot,
That was a pretty good move there. Yeah, because by the end, the place was a wreck. And after 50 million bands in play, you just about had it. So to open the gig, they were given the choice, and they took to open it.
Yeah,
Wow.
good choice.
That shoots a lot of confidence. To me, it's like, okay, all these super bands, Rare Earth says, okay, you know what? We're gonna start this thing off. We don't care. We're gonna go up there. That there's a lot of belief in themselves. That's really nice.
They're fabulous. They're a fabulous bunch of musicians, very confident. And as Wayne said, they always toured. So they were seasoned, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ready for the big stage. That's I find that so amazing. Are there any bands over the years that Rare Earth has toured with that, is kind of some of your favorite bands to do shows with or tour with?
Well, as far as Gil goes, he had a really cool story. His favorite band was Sly and the Family Stone. They played Madison Square Gardens with them, and he was really excited to meet Sly. Well, Sly came in and he was just stoned off of his gourd, and he was surrounded by a ton of people. And Gil couldn't even get to him. But when they went on stage, they really wrecked everything. Sly was a mess, and Rare Earth just tore it up, and that's what the headlines. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I heard about Sly. Sly he went through that phase where he couldn't really get through a show, right? A lot of the concerts
But
he
an
kind of get on stage and pass
amazing
out.
musician.
Yeah, that was
They
it.
were phenomenal. Sly and the Family Stone. That was one of Gil's favorite.
Susie, can you imagine the people that Gil had met over the years? I mean, I don't know the list, but the list of people.
Oh,
I mean,
it's-
everybody in Motown, everybody Gil had met, and all these people on the roads from all these tours. I mean, hell,
yeah.
Jimi Hendrix opened for Rare Earth. Opened.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
You know,
And so
yeah,
did Kiss.
yeah.
Kiss
Really?
opened for Rare
Oh,
Earth.
yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
like
yeah.
all of these bands did. Rare Earth
Right.
was huge. And yeah, we did Motown's 50th anniversary. And when we went, Gil was just the everybody loved him and wanted to talk to him, and he was just amazing. He did, and he knew everybody. And we go on these cruises with all these bands, whoever's left. Gil knew all of them too. I remember last time we were on the Moody Blues cruise,
Ooh.
and we were with Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad, and Mark was telling us a story about how grueling it was for them a lot of times. And Gil said, yeah, I remember one time we were playing, and as we drove by, your bus was on the side of the road. And Mark Farner goes, yeah, I bet you I was under the hood fixing it too, wasn't I? And he goes, yeah, you were.
Yeah, he was. He was. We toured with him.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't think there was a band that I've seen yet that Rare Earth didn't play with. They just were amid the greats, because they were the greats and still are.
Mark
Yeah.
Farner is amazing. I mean, when you watch this guy on stage, we've done quite a few shows with him. It's like you're looking at a 16-year-old on stage. The guy is 70 something. I don't know what, but I mean, the shape that he's in and the way he moves around still, plus his professional voice and guitar playing is just still at the top of his game. It's amazing.
He's still got it.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in probably 3 years or 4 years now, but I mean, I'm just amazed at him. And by the way, my favorite band is Free Dog Night that went on tour with. I just love their band. I mean, when you got 23 hits, you got something happening. So
most definitely.
Love them.
Most definitely. I love Three Dog Night, and I was actually going to ask that. Yeah, so you guys toured with them. Tell me what it's like to tour with them. Are you guys, friendly on the road? Are they fun to watch play as well?
Yeah. As a band evolves and gets older, you don't party as much as you did when you're kids and stuff. You hang out by necessity. You have to be there. You have to set up. You have to be staged. And then you'll be in the green spaces. And that's the time mostly when you intermingle is like that. But there's been friendships that have been built up between these different bands. Like I've become friends. I haven't seen this guy in a while, but Marcos Reyes from the band War. And I struck up a friendship with him. And Charlie from Iron Butterfly became a good friend. I've stayed over at his place, and we've hung out together in the Seattle area. So you make friendships when you're out on the road with people. It happens. There's a lot of people that you meet in your career in a band like Rare Earth. A lot.
That's so cool. It's like you guys are like distant cousins, you know. It's you're related. Sometimes you see each other on the road, sometimes you don't, but it's like a family, right?
Right. Yeah, we got a built-in camaraderie because we got something in common, right off the bat. So we're both doing the show together, and it's great. It's just great.
That's so cool. I read the book. I can't remember the exact title, but it's Tommy James from Tommy James Shondells, and it's like my life with the mafia or something. And man, the stories out of that book with Tommy James were just incredible. But one of the things I found so fascinating with his situation at that time was that he had the record deal and what have you, but it just, he never really got what he was supposed to get paid from the label, and he made the bulk of his money on the road. I mean, would you say same situation from Rare Earth over the years? It was, it's the bread and butter is the touring and the shows, right?
Right. Yeah, I think it still is to this point. The music industry has changed. It's almost like a line in the sand happened in the 1990s, year 2000, right around then. Bands used to make a whole bunch of money by doing recordings. People would buy records. And that all changed now, where we've gone pretty much to the side of just data downloads. And it doesn't cost anything, so to speak, with data compared to what it costs to make records. You go in and get a record, and the band would make a couple bucks off of every record that's sold. Well, when you sell over 1 million records, even if you're selling for $1 each from the band standpoint, you're going to make a lot of money. Now it's fractional of a penny per download. So that's changed where your money comes from. It's still in live performances. You still get money there. But as far as recordings go, you don't make nearly as much money as was made in the old days on record sales, if you want to call it that.
For sure. No, I could see that. I could see the money was made on the road, and still, like you said, more today probably than even back then, because it's, what are you going to get from Spotify? A piece of a piece of a piece of a penny per stream. It's like,
there's nothing to replace live performers. I mean, they can't come up with a way of artificial intelligence or, putting a hologram up of a band. That's not going to fly. So, when people buy a ticket, they expecting to see the band. And it's a lot different than, just having a recording of something. So,
yeah.
That's where the money is.
Irreplaceable.
The
You cannot
movie.
replace a live band.
The movies get a lot of royalties, a lot of good royalties when we have movies and commercials on TVs.
And there's
I can imagine.
nobody's had a better commercial than I Just Want to Celebrate. I keep bringing this up with you, Susie. I mean, that song is immortal, absolutely immortal. I don't think that in the United States, at least, that there's a 15-year-old kid that wouldn't recognize I Just Want to Celebrate. I mean, your head been in the sand, kid? What do you mean you never heard that song? They've all heard it. It's that good of a song. The band hit it right on the head with that song. There's not been a song that's been more popular, that has had more airtime in commercials than I Just Want to Celebrate. And it's a Rare Earth specialty right there.
How that song came out to be, Mike, was that the fellows that wrote that song is Dino and can't remember the other guy's name, Bucaris or something like that. They were in Motown, and they were going to record, Rare Earth was at Motown, and they were going to record something else that night. And they had writers and stuff, off the side writing while these guys were recording. And those two guys came running out and said, hey, you guys got to record this. They recorded that, laid it down, first track, nothing. It was fabulous. That's how it
Yeah.
come out.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, you
like
told me that
that.
story
It
before. how
just
that
finished
happened.
writing
Yeah,
it, those guys.
yeah.
Fresh off the press, and they were like, "Hey, got this cool jam. You guys should record this right now. You're already in the studio. Let's go."
That's how it happened. And it was recording it in just no time.
Wow.
Motown was an absolute machine. It's just, I've heard so many stories about how that all went on. It's just amazing how that place operated. Just 24 hours a day, that place was humming. They had writers in there. They had all their, as a matter of fact, our best known guitarist that we had, the one that was on almost all the big LPs back in the early days, Ray Manette, he was found through being a session artist at Motown. When they were looking for another guitar player, a replacement, first place they went was to Ray.
Yeah.
And he did it. Ray worked out just amazingly. What a gifted musician he is. And he is still alive. He's not in the band any longer, but he's still out there in our area. So
Still alive and kicking.
yeah, it
Yeah.
just got hard for him, a little bit harder for him, and I guess, time is knocking on everybody's door eventually, and you get, I don't know if I should say it gets old. Making people happy and smile never gets old to me, and I just can't imagine that when the day would come that I would throw in the towel, so to speak. But
Right.
it's kind of what happens to some people. They just say, I've had enough, had a good career, and let's move on with someone else. So,
But you hit such a key note right there. There's nothing better than making people smile. I mean, isn't that really the bottom line of all of it?
Right.
absolutely. I have people ask me, does this ever get old? And I tell those people every time someone asks me, I said, I look out in that audience and know watching people smiling never gets old. Never. Especially when there might be hundreds of them. They're there for a reason. We deliver the music and they deliver the atmosphere. So it's great.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah, there's I mean, there's something about it, right? I mean, it's, of course I've never been on the level of Rare Earth, but when you're playing on stage, right? And you guys just, it may be the first song on the set list it might be 2-3 songs in, but there's a moment in time when you guys are on the stage and it's just like, it's like a click, right? And it's like, man, there's no better place I'd rather be than right here, right now. And this sounds so good. I mean, tell people what that's like for the audience that doesn't play or perform. I mean, what's that feeling like when you're up there and it's like, man, this sounds so good?
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible when the people are right there and we're singing and they're singing with us. And then we stop singing and they sing and we go back and forth with some of the songs with them. It's just incredible. When we're up on the bandstand with the amplifiers and everything going, it's a very, very intense moment for the band. For me, anyway, I'll tell you, it's great. It's just great.
Well,
I want you to picture this. Oh, is that Dan chiming in?
I'm here.
Go
Yeah.
for it. Go for it. Come on.
It's something you dream about, and all of the energy and the pent up anticipation of being on stage. Once you finally get there and you get the crowd interacting with you and you feel that energy, it's the reason you pick up an instrument in the first place, because you think, okay, I can be as good as that. And it's a true test of where you stand. And for me, I'm the new guy, or one of the new guys in the band. Mike and Wayne are the alumni members. But you mentioned earlier, what's it like to go from being in a cover band or a tribute band, and then all of a sudden you get the knock on the door, and now you're in a national band. Well, it's an amazing feeling, and it's a great challenge, and it's just one of those things that you think about and you'd hope that happens in your career. somewhere along the way. And when it does, it's something you can't fathom the experience until you get on stage and you're like, that's what it's all about. And, and that's what you dreamed about. So making it come true is, there's no other feeling like it. So.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's
I can
cool.
imagine.
I'll
I can
tell you,
imagine.
I manage the band, by the way, and every one of the people that's in the band, I kind of had a pick on these people. And like what Dan just said, just brings to mind the fact that nobody is in this band by chance. They're in this band through years of dedication to the music industry and hard work, perseverance. Okay, they're also good performers too, which is God-given, but they work to get where they're at, where it's just not something where we flipped a coin. Everybody here deserves what they have, including Dan, of course. It's new to him a little bit, but he's finding out the fruits are well worth it. And by the way, I wanted to touch on one thing, just back up a little bit about what's it like on stage and stuff. I found out a long time ago that the bigger the crowd isn't necessarily the best crowd. And not that there are any lousy crowds, but I have a couple places. In Virginia, this happened one time at a place, but what I want to talk about real fast is down south of Laughlin, Nevada, there's a casino, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. I can't remember it, but at that time, they didn't have a theater venue. What they used was one of those golf domes. Okay, you know what I'm talking about? It's the big white bowl. You see those things where you can, hit a ball inside.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a practice dome or whatever for golf, and that's what they used for this the venue. There was a temporary structure, so they hired us to come in and play a show. The place seated in temporary seating, just fold up chairs. They put them down on the ground level, and then they had a stage on the end. There were 600 chairs in that place, and they sold 600 tickets. And I'm telling you what, you could have been 5 feet from me, and I could have screamed at the top of my lungs. You could not have heard me screaming. That's how much noise was in this place. They just literally blew the roof right off of this golf dome. And I'll never forget that. I never had any kind of energy like that I've ever seen anywhere. It's just amazing. It's like everybody got a big award or something. It's crazy. I mean, I don't know, but I loved it. I loved it.
Sometimes the best gigs come from the oddest places, right? Like
The most random places.
Yeah, but boy, those people, they wanted their money's worth and they got it. We're just really speechless over that one.
Hey, what was the place in Virginia? You said
it was on the beach. It was, I think, on Virginia Beach, and it was a municipal event, and it was the same thing. I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds of people out there, maybe actually a couple thousand, but the screaming was so loud, that after we were done, I just couldn't imagine. You don't normally get that kind of craziness. I loved it.
Oh yeah, no, Virginia Beach is a good town. That's actually where I'm from, so it's
that's a good party crowd.
Yeah, it was something municipal. I remember out there.
Yeah. You might have been. You probably played Town Point Park in Norfolk. I bet. Was it outside?
We have played in Norfolk, Virginia. I'm trying to think of where. We're going back. I mean, after a while, it becomes a fog. There's certain ones that you can really remember, like that one down by Laughlin, Nevada. I'll never forget that. The Virginia Beach. I'll never forget that. But a lot of them, it just gets caught in the mesh of everything else. I need a little prodding to have it surface again.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure they come back randomly, different shows. You're like, oh, I remember that one, But getting back to choosing choosing the band members for the band, because I'm sure over the years you guys have had people that have you know, you need to put somebody in the band, and you try out people, and this guy works out, this guy doesn't work out. I mean, how do you know from your standpoint? Because I mean, it's rare earth. You're keeping the legacy of the band going. Like, how do you choose the right band member for such a big spot?
You got to know people, which I do. I'm proud to say that most of the people that I know in the music business are professional, and they would pretty much qualify right off the bat just because of my association with them. Dan, as an example, played in another group with me. I also play in a tribute group, a local tribute group called Magic Bus. And Dan is the guitarist in Magic Bus, and he was just a natural pick for me. I mean, I knew that he would gel really good with everybody in the band, you know, no drama, no, you know, the kind of things that you got to watch out for people sometimes when you're picking a musician, because there's more in the band involvement than just the musician. You got to make sure their personality will work in the band and that they're not crazy. You know, if you get musicians can be a lot of different types of people, a lot of personalities. I've known several guitarists in my lifetime that I thought were just amazing, phenomenal guitarists, but I would never choose them for Rare Earth, never, because of other problems they have, you know. So, but anyway, everybody that we picked, like I said before, has all earned their place in the band. People come and people go. Generally, people are long-term in any of these bands, and you know, God bless any of these bands that are hanging on to members that go all the way back to day one. When we lost Gil Bridges, he was the godfather of the band. He was on every recording, like Susie said, all the way back to day one. And like I said, there's other things besides musicianship that you look for. Well, Gil was the quintessential individual because he had very good business sense. Okay, he knew what to do. You know, he's probably tough love would be something that Gil would have had to dish out over a period of years. You know, he's just he was a good person. You never had to worry about any kind of shenanigans with Gil. So anyway, we're sorry.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
He was. He worked really hard, but I really have to say, I know that he would be extremely proud of what Mike has done. You got to give him credit. He has just picked up the ball, and together we just ran with it. And I got to give Mike all the credit in the world, because he has a bunch of guys that are phenomenal. Each and every individual is just, they're great guys, fabulous musicians, all of them, and they all get along so great. It's a really fabulous group.
Thank you. Another thing I was going to say about this is, you know, when I got into the situation where I had to get another musician for the band or two, one of the things I was looking for was to make sure that this band had as much of the original character of Rare Earth as I could possibly get. And I've listened to enough of the recordings multiple times that I kind of knew what I was looking for. The one thing that Gil never did that I always wish that he would have was I wish that he would have replaced Eddie when Eddie passed away. He was our original percussionist in the band, and he didn't do it. And I felt that was a fairly critical part of our original sound. Well, that was a place that I had to go immediately, was to try and get the percussionist sound back into the band, which we did. And then the other thing is that just Wayne's voice. He's sitting right there in front of you, and right in the middle of my lineup of people that I'm looking at. There he is.
There he is.
But, Wayne's voice is nothing short of phenomenal. And
Absolutely.
Wayne, you can stand there and pantomime. You can play your guitar. We'll turn it on or turn it up, whatever off, or we don't care. But we want that voice. So it's just such a wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it.
Yeah, he really is.
Oh, it's
Really
great. I mean, this band is in a wonderful position sound-wise right now. We sound great. We really do. So I'm real happy about the way things came together for the band. So.
Absolutely. So what are the future plans for the band? What can fans expect in the future?
Keep going. Keep marching on. Funny you should say that because, I've met a lot of the people and seen a lot of the bands, and I stay in touch, or at least I watch what goes on from a distance with some of the other bands. And when they get in a situation after a while, a lot of the bands just fold up. Okay. Like when Gil passed away, there was a golden opportunity for this band to just fold up. We had lost that long-term guitarist, Ray Manette, lost him, meaning he retired. Okay. Then Gil dies. I mean, that's like the 1-2 punch to the band. So we had to make a choice, what are we doing? And Susie Bridges had the answer because Gil told her this band is to go on. We are not stopping Rare Earth. It'll live as long as it can possibly go. You keep right on going forward with the group. And that's what we did. We grabbed the bull by the horns. We had to replace Gil, of course, but we went forward with the band, and we sound great right now. So we're in business and ready to go. We've been playing shows. I mean, we've been at least 2 years now back doing shows again. So.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, some of them don't do that though. Some of them just, you read in the headlines on the internet, so and so died, this one died, that one died, and that just means the whole band's gone. And I can go down a list of bands that did fold up. Some of them get resurrected, but they don't have the original feel of the band. They don't, and that's not true with Rare Earth. I think we sound exactly like what you were hearing on the records. I really do.
Absolutely, staying true to the
soul of the band.
Yeah, as true as we can. That's the top order of business.
That's so crucial. That's so crucial. A friend of mine, his father, his name is David, and his father is Rudy Salas from the band Tierra, and his father just passed a couple of years ago, and so he's keeping the legacy going and still performing the shows, and he told me, it's like I want to stay as true to the original as possible, and they do. I mean, they're right there. It's like I think it's so amazing how it continues on,
Well, again, it's what people remember on the original recordings. That's very, very important. You got to stay true to that, or you're going to have a whole bunch of disappointed people. And I don't want that. So we're going to try and be right on the money with what they heard 50 years ago.
Oh, yeah. I was just at a concert a couple weeks ago and went and saw War. And I'm walking to my seat. They're already playing. They're jamming on Me and Baby Brother. I'm like, man, this is just like the way it sounds. Like, you're right. It's like the audience they want what they want. They want that memory relived again, right?
Right. That's exactly right. And anytime you're playing music that was a hit years ago, they don't want to hear some rendition. They want to hear the original, sound that they remember. So you got to stay true.
Wow, that's so true. And Johnny, I believe you said that you're working on a book that's going to be coming out.
Yes, I am. Gil and I worked on that book for probably 15 years. It's called Rare Earth, The Real Story, and it's Gil's memoir, straight from the beginning. And it's fabulous. I have to say, I enjoyed finding out all the things that I found out and was able to write about them. Gil was amazing. He was sort of an introvert. He didn't talk much, but when we talked about things, and he would blow my mind. One time when he was a kid, he outran the cops with his car. And I'm like, Gil, a little quiet. Gil, you did that? Yeah. Every light on the street came on as he went by. You know, the stories that he told me was just phenomenal. And his version and his view of the way things were. I just couldn't ask for a better story. He was an amazing guy. He was so cool. His story is just off the charts cool. And for him, pardon me, just think about it. He was never ever in another band. Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's pretty wild.
there's nobody on this
pretty.
panel
From
that
the
could say
50s
that.
all the way up, he was never in another band.
That's pretty rare, no pun intended.
Very
You know,
rare.
one time they did this, they were approached by this group to do a Stamp Out the Beatles back in the day. And they were the Sunliners then, and they weren't going to put their name to that. So they did it under Warm Ride. Warm Ride, yeah. And they did a song called Stamp Out the Beatles. They liked the Beatles. They didn't want their name up to that, but those guys were involved in a lot of really stuff. And you were talking about Tommy James and the Shandells, how, you know, it was really rough while the mob got a hold of Rare Earth out in California. A lot of people doesn't know that, but they at the time they were trying to take over a lot of the bands. And Gil got away from that because the manager, Ronnie, which was his best friend at the time, got involved in that situation and almost was able to snatch Rare Earth, but Gil pulled away from that and pulled away from Ronnie at the same time. And so, yeah, there's they were interviewed by, I think is David, oh gosh, somebody like Walter Cronkite, you know, from back in the day. And I have the video from that interview.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
the first time they brought him into interview, they spoke the guy's name. I believe it was Joe Yulo or somebody like that, and they go, "Oh, interview over. You're not going to catch us up because they." But it was sometime later they did an interview and come out with what all happened.
I bet you they were scared out of their minds, weren't they?
Yeah. We're not going to do that. But they tricked them when they first interviewed them. They tricked them, told them they were going to do something else and talk about helping the community. That's what happened. They brought up that and they're like, no, interview's over.
Ooh. I could only imagine, because I know that was kind of rampant in the 70s, right? I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of, popular bands that probably were approached and said, hey, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah, and that's basically it. They were really blessed to get away from that.
Wow.
Thank God Gil had enough sense to pull back and get away.
Yeah. No, it's very smart. Yeah. In the story of Tommy James, I mean, he really elaborated. I mean, literally the label owner was allegedly part of the mafia. And it took him many years. He finally approached him, I think, mid to late 70s. And he just told the guy, he's just like, listen, you owe me upwards of, I don't know, $24 million. And I know you're not going to give it to me, but I'm going to break off right now. This is over. And it took him years to get enough confidence to say, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen to me, but I'm out, because like the guy was just taking all his record sales. I mean, all of it.
I have to read that. That sounds really interesting. Wow.
Very interesting book.
Yeah, very interesting. Very entertaining book as well. So I so much look forward to reading your book. You think it might come out in 2025?
Well, the book is almost ready to go out now, but my editor's getting ready to get it. But it's done. Yep.
That's awesome. And as far as shows go for 2025, guys, what's coming up on the horizon? When can I see you guys in SoCal? Come on.
Cruises.
Yeah, we're going out on a couple of cruises coming up.
Oh, where the cruises at? Where are they leaving from?
We have, oh, what are the name of
Flower Power Cruise and the
Is it?
Rock and Romance Cruise.
Okay.
Ooh,
Those two.
ooh.
And
Next
they're-
year?
It's hard to keep
yeah,
track of them all.
2025 in March, and a production company called Star Vista has been doing this for a number of years now, where they have music themed cruises based around a certain type of artist. They have a disco cruise, they have a soul cruise, they have a malt cruise, which is 50s music, of course, the rock and romance, which is supposed to be centered around 70s music. And then they got the flower power, and guess which era that's for?
I think it's a rock and romance cruise too.
Yeah,
right?
we're on both of
Yep.
those because Rare Earth kind of bleeds into the 70s era too. So they saw it light enough for us to be on both of those cruises. But we look forward to that. We've done quite a few of those
Oh,
over
they're
a number of
amazing
years.
people to work for too.
Yeah.
Those cruises are off the charts, and the
Yeah,
fans are just so loyal.
One big party on a boat, right?
absolutely. That's what it is.
Rock the boat. That's so cool. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show. It's been an honor and a privilege to be able to sit down and talk with such a legendary band. Thank you guys so much. And where can everybody find you online to find out about the shows and whatever you guys are doing?
Well, we're at rareearth.com, and we have social media platforms everywhere. I think every one of them. Facebook is pretty big, but rareearth.com.
Awesome.